An egg-free diet is followed when you have an egg allergy. This short film shows dietitians discussing an egg-free diet and how to incorporate this into your daily eating. If you think you have an egg allergy, please ask your doctor or specialist nurse to refer you to the dietetic service. When you're referred to us, you will be offered a clinic appointment to discuss dietary changes with a registered dietitian.
Hello, my name's Nancy. I'm a paediatric dietitian at County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust.
Hello, my name's Jenny and I'm also a dietitian at County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust.
We're going to talk a little bit about an egg-free diet today. So can you tell me a bit about an egg allergy?
What happens when people need to have an egg-free diet is that they have an egg allergy. So they've been recommended to come and see a dietitian and find out about the egg-free diet. What it actually is the simplicity of not eating eggs. But while to us that might sound really simple, in practice it can be really difficult.
And can you tell me a little bit about an egg-free diet? So which foods are we avoiding? Which foods can you have?
It's really quite interesting because it is as simple as don't eat egg. Mm-hmm. But that's really hard when you then go shopping, because you might try and go and buy something like chicken nuggets, but they've got egg in them. An egg can creep into all sorts of labels. So what people need to do is make sure that they check the labels. The main thing that people are allergic to is the egg white, is the protein, but that doesn't mean that you're safe picking something that says it's egg yolk, because can you really process something to take the egg yolk out and not have any egg white? So when people cook with egg, there's two different ways of cooking. You can either ask for an egg replacer on prescription, and there's two different types of egg replacer. There's one that you would use in cakes, and there's one that you can whisk up to make things like meringues. They can be quite difficult to use, and certainly the one that you would use in cakes can have a taste about it that people don't always like. So it's actually easier if you adapt a recipe and instead use potato flour. So what you can do is you can use potato flour, which is really easy to buy, and it's a bit like corn flour. And if you put a tablespoon of potato flour and 3 tablespoons of liquid in a recipe, that equals an egg. And what it does is it binds things together, because egg is the thing that really binds things in recipes. So if you put that in, and then the liquid could be milk, or if you're dairy free, it could be a replacement milk, or it could be orange juice, you've got the beginning of a replacement for egg. But what we then find is we need things to rise, because the potato flour won't rise, and egg also provides a rising agent. So if you think about Yorkshire puddings, the reason they puff up is because of the egg. So what you need to do then is bicarbonate of soda, which if you put that in, you will need to put something like vinegar in with it, and then the recipe will kind of bubble because you get a chemical reaction, but in the oven that will raise. Or you would put baking powder in. And a lot of American recipes adapt really well to being egg-free because their flour isn't self-rising flour, it's a plain flour, so you put baking powder in. So what we've got beside us, we've got some biscuits, and these were made with plain flour and then potato flour and orange juice. So the chocolate chip cookies, and they're egg-free. They could also easily be gluten-free because it's plain flour, so you could put gluten-free plain flour in. And then the cakes are made with potato flour and then baking powder to help them rise. The other problem that people find, so if you're starting to bake with it, things won't look normal because egg's what lets things colour. The egg and the carbohydrate in the flour make a reaction in the oven for colour. So if you don't use white sugar, if you use a brown sugar, you get a more normal coloured cake at the end, and that's a really good tip to use.
Okay. And so if somebody's diagnosed with an egg allergy, is that a lifelong thing, or can people grow out of it? And if people can grow out of it, what happens when it comes to reintroducing it?
The egg allergy sometimes can be lifelong, and it can be a bit tricky. So people would have testing again with the doctors as to whether it is or it isn't lifelong. And at some point the doctors will say that the level of allergy they've got is what they think they're going to have for the rest of their lives. If you need to reintroduce egg, that's often done on a ward with a doctor. So we don't recommend that people reintroduce egg in their own home, that they do it with a medical professional, and they might see a dietitian, or they might be seeing a doctor and a specialist nurse.
Okay. And what's the most difficult thing about egg allergies?
I think the most difficult thing about egg allergy is the fact that people can be allergic to egg on different levels of a spectrum. So if people are allergic to all egg, in a way it's a little bit simpler because they know they can't eat egg, and they could eat vegan foods because vegans don't eat egg, so that can make it a little bit simpler. But some people can cope with some egg. So they're managing to have egg that's very baked in a biscuit, or egg that's in a cake or in a Yorkshire pudding. But if that person had an omelette or scrambled egg, then they would be unwell. So that's the really hard thing for people to come to terms with. It can be really difficult for grandparents to understand that, yes, my granddaughter can have cake, but no, she can't have an omelette. And that's the really, really tricky thing for patients.
And if you'd like any more information, you can visit either the Trust website or the British Dietetic Association Food Facts website.